Hi, my name is Elizabeth Gordon, and today I'm going to give you a brief software overview of the LI-6400 6400 XT software. I'm going to be using the simulator program, which you can download for free from our website, and I'm going to be showing it on a computer just to make it easier for everyone to be able to see this. Here's the LI-6400 simulator software, which you can download for free from our website for Windows, Mac, and Linux. When you start up the software, it should look pretty similar to what you see on your screen of the LI-6400. To turn it on, we go here to the power button and click that. And then you see that the LI-6400 is starting up. I select my 2x3 LED by pressing key F5. And I am come to the main screen. So the main screen has a lot of useful information for me, and it tells me not only the version of the software that I have, which is Open 6.3.4, it also tells me date and time, my battery voltage, how full my user directory is, and if I had an instrument, it would have PSC something instead of saying simulator. The LI-6400 software is designed to allow you to move through your measurement day in a couple of different ways. We have our arrow keys, our keyboard, and then our function keys. And our main screen has 5 menus here. We have the home menu, and if I click key F1, I'll go into that. This gives me information about my instrument and allows me to do diagnostics and tests. I don't want to do any of those right now, so I'll go ahead and I'll press F4 exit. The next menu is the config menu, which I can access pressing key F2. This is where I can make a new config, edit a configuration, open a configuration, or save a configuration that I have adjusted. And to exit out of this mode, I can either press exit, key F4, or I can press escape. In the LI-6400 software, you can always press escape. It will get you back to the main screen eventually, so if you get yourself a little bit lost, you'll get back to it. The next menu that we have is the calib menu, and this is our calibration menu. So this is where we can view our calibration settings. We can do a flow meter 0, an erga 0, a CO2 mixer calibration, or check our LED source. And I can scroll through these using my down arrows. Again, I'm going to press escape and exit out of that. The next option is new measurements mode, where we spend most of our time, but I'm going to skip over that just for a moment, and I'm going to go to the utility menu. If I press key F5, this brings me into the utility menu. In the utility menu, I can access my files, communications, graphics, set the clock, or put my instrument to sleep. And you can see that I have these little triangles pointing to the side. If I press key F1, it will expand that triangle, and that's where I can access the filer, which is my file system. I can recompute a basic data file. I can reinstall basic config files. If I press key F1, I go back. I'll use my down arrow, go to my communications. This is where I can do my network status, configure my COM port, or use file exchange mode if I'm not going to be using Ethernet or X-term transfer. Now, let's talk about new measurements mode. I'll press key F4 to go into new measurements mode. New measurements mode has a couple of different aspects to it. So there's this main part that you see right here, and that is our just overall data view. So this is where I can see various parameters and I can control them. I can see what is active on these various lines. The active line has the arrow here. So I have lines A, B, and C. I can scroll through these lines by either using my left and right arrow keys or by just pressing the letter that I want to go to. For example, if I want to go to letter G and I know that, I just press G. If I'm not sure, then I can use my right and left arrow keys and I can scroll through. If I want to change the active line, then I can press my down arrow, and now you see that the second line is active. And then if I press the down arrow again, the third line will be active. Press it again, and we will rotate through. If you're not sure where something is, you can either scroll through with the arrow keys, but we also have a couple of shortcuts. Home is ABC, End is DEF, page up is GHI, and page down is JKL. And these can be adjusted by you and changed in the settings and software configuration. But let's go back to ABC. When we look in new measurements mode, we have a couple of different screens that we can go to besides this one. If I press my right square bracket, this takes me into my graphs, and I can arrow through my graphs either again by pressing the letter E or by using my up arrows and down arrows, and that will scroll through my graphs. By default, I have graphs that are based on time, and I also have graphs that are based on X versus Y, for example, A versus CI, A versus Q, something like that. If I want to go back to new measurements mode, the text version, I just press my right square bracket again. If I press my left square bracket, I get into my diagnostic mode. And again, I have A, B, C, D, all through. And so I can just press the key and it will take me back to it. Press my left square bracket again, and I'm back to text mode. So that's how we move through the software. That in the new measurements mode, the different screens. Now let's talk about the different menu levels that we have, because we have letters, and these are variables that we just look at. And then we have menu levels, and these menu levels allow us to make changes to the conditions of our leaf or our instrument. We can get to those by pressing either the labels key and scrolling through, or we can just press the number that we care about. So if I know that I want to be on menu level 5, I can just press 5. So let's go through the menu levels. Menu level 1 is essentially our log file level. So this is where we open our log file. We can view a file, we can close a file, add a remark, or match our analyzers. Menu level 2 is our environmental control level. So this is where we can change our leaf fan settings, our flow control settings, our CO2 mixer settings, our temperature control, and if we have a light source, our lamp settings. I'll come back to menu level 2 and show you what these screens look like. Menu level 3 is our constants and prompts level. So this is where we can change our leaf area. This is very common. We could change our stomatal ratio, look at our systems and user constants, or change what our prompts were for user prompts. Menu level 5 is our graph level. So this controls and changes the graphs that we saw when we press the right square bracket. Menu level 5 is our log and auto program level. So this is where we can tell the instrument that we'd like it to do a certain series of actions, or we can change what our log options are, whether it beeps or doesn't beep, whether we log to an Excel file or we don't if we have that option in our software. And we can also define stability criteria, which we will use in an auto program. Menu level 6 is our display level. This is where we can change our display. All of these display list values can be changed. If I really wanted to, I could change A, B, and C to be the exact same variables, but I don't usually want to do that. However, I could. I could also change my view. So instead of having my display be the standard measurement view, I can go into diagnostic mode, and that changes what is displayed on the screen. You'll usually only do this if you're already talking to a LI-COR tech support or a distributor to help you with a problem. And then menu level 7 is empty, but I could add an extra key if I wanted to, say, control the LI-610, for example, which is a portable dew point generator. Control keys can be added to that. Now let's go back to menu level 2, our environmental control level. And when we move through the environmental control level, we have the same tree structure as we did before. So for example, if I press key F3 to go into my CO2 mixer, I can change my CO2 control type, and I will choose reference CO2 and press OK at key F5. Now you can see that I have both control and target. So if I know what my control type is and what my current target is. And then I have two shortcuts here. I can press retarget, meaning I don't change the control type, I just change the target. Or I have O for off and exit. If I want to turn things off, I will just press the letter O. It closes the menu and it gives me a chance to go back to my main screen. Each of these environmental variables has the same basic tree structure, where we will have a control type and then a control target. So you'll need to set them both, but when you're done, you can go ahead and either press retarget or exit, or O for off. So that's a short overview of the software. When we're done for the day with our software, we would close our log file, and then we would escape and turn our instrument off. If you'd like to know how to open a log file, we go to New Measurements mode, Menu Level 1, Open Log File. By default, it's named Data. That's not so useful, so I'll change it to Software Space Overview, and press F5 Select. I don't need to enter a remark, so I'm just going to press again. And you can see that now it says log 0, view file, close file, add remark, or match. I'm going to go ahead and close my file using key F3, and I will exit out of New Measurements mode. So that's a brief software overview of the LI-6400 software. If you have any questions or concerns, you can of course check the manual, which discusses this in great detail, or you can contact our support team or your local distributor, and they'll be happy to walk you through whatever task you need to do.